All right, we have another contestant coming to the stage now. Would you please welcome, give it up for Moishie Gamss. Give Moishie Gamss a nice round of applause. Moishie Gamss!
Well, thank you all for coming out. Really appreciate that. I landed this afternoon. I was traveling for the past week, and let me fill you in on the trip a little bit. So I flew out to Vegas. You know, Sin City, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Now, I'm not entirely confident with that saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. If I'm going to do Vegas-worthy things, then what happens in Vegas needs to disappear completely. What stays in Vegas? Where in Vegas exactly does it stay? Because I'd like to go back there one day. Don't really want to cross paths with my past. But Vegas was pretty wild, not in a party kind of way, but it was just, I don't know if you followed, there was a heat wave in the Southwest. It was 116 degrees. That's a real thing. I thought like above 105, God is like, haha, just kidding. Like, you should have seen the look on your face. It was really 116 degrees, and you can cook an egg on the sidewalk at 116. And I know that because I was in Vegas, and it was 116 degrees, and I watched it on YouTube, because I am not going outside in 116 degrees. Absolutely not. But Vegas wasn't the point of the trip. I actually did a little road trip around Arizona and Utah. And Utah's a pretty tough sell if you don't know anything about Utah. You go on the website, and they're just like pushing nature, nature. You go to Utah, you won't find traffic. You go to Utah, you won't find pollution. It's like, that's true, but you go to Utah, you also won't find internet. And that makes things pretty tough. You won't find gas stations when you need them. We had 140 miles to empty, and we just made it. You also won't find people. It's so let me give you an example of how unpopulated Utah is. So we did 25 hours of driving in 5 days. That's a lot of driving, so there was a lot of radio. And we changed the station, and they're like, caller 25 wins tickets to Iron Maiden. And I'm like, oh, cool, I like Iron Maiden. I take the number down, and I called up. I was caller 4, 7, 11, 14, 19, 21, and 25. That's how many people live in Utah. But the coolest part was, I won the tickets. And I'm like, hey, that's great. And the guy's like, hey, dude, congratulations. You won tickets to Iron Maiden in, I don't know where, Utah. And it was great until it got a little awkward at the end, because he's signing off, and he's like, hey, dude, which radio station gives you your tickets? And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know what radio station I'm listening to. So I tell my friend, I'm like, hey dude, find out what radio station it is. And he like looks up the number and he's like, oh, it's called K-Rock. I'm like, yeah, K-Rock. He's like, we haven't been K-Rock in 12 years. I'm like, dude, it's a little bit awkward. So, but Utah's actually really nice, because there are a ton of, in Arizona, Utah, there are a ton of national parks, and I crossed the things off my bucket list. Not the national parks, though. I mean, look, they're nice, but I'm not like one of those flowery nature national parks hiking people. No, my bucket list thing was to pee off of the Grand Canyon. And so when we're heading down there, we have 2 hours left on the ETA, and I start drinking a lot of water. I'm like, all right, we're getting this done. Now, 2 hours was a little bit too much. Like, half hour later, I'm like, ooh, I think I did this a little bit early. And so 2 things that happen when you pee off of the Grand Canyon in that situation is, number 1, it feels amazing. It was unbelievable, too. That hour and a half of waiting was totally worth it. But the other thing is, apparently, you're not supposed to pee off of the Grand Canyon. I mean, I would have assumed that, but I wasn't totally sure. And I think I pissed off one of the park rangers. Wait, no, I pissed off of the Grand Canyon. I ticked off the park ranger. All right, I think you get that point. So yeah, that was really cool. And I was traveling with a guy, he's in dental school. And so we were listening, and there were tons of dental commercials. And so it really kind of got me curious. And I asked him, like, what do you learn in dental school? Because we had 25 hours of driving. So I said, what do you learn in dental school? I understand doctors learn everything about the body. What's the dental school classroom work? So he said, you know, we were actually taking a class this past semester called Systems Pathology. I have no idea what systems pathology is. They're like, yeah, like, we learned to give breast exams. All right, a couple of things here. Number 1, why was that your first exam? It's like, why did you go right to breast exams? But number 2, this is dental school, right? Mecca, right? Look, I'm not a dental maven here, and I'm all for learning things you're never going to use in life, but not when those things in practical use will definitely register you as a sex offender. Like, fill me in. I haven't gone through all of the avenues here, but fill me in on the situation where your dentist offers to give you a breast exam, and things don't end very, very poorly. Like, this is especially bad if, like, the sedation wears off a little bit early. This is not going to end well for the dentist. So, yeah, but that was the trip. But I'm really a city boy. I grew up here, I went to school here, and my school was awesome. It was right next to Washington Square Park. And that place is amazing. That place is never not the weirdest place on earth. I don't know if you've ever been there, but Washington Square Park is where you go to test the waters to see whether or not something is socially acceptable. That's where you go. Like, you go, usually you have to ask that question, by the way. I think you know the answer. But you can go in the middle of the winter and you'll see people in like spandex tighty-whities, and they'll be like juggling fruit and reciting poetry. And like that's, like, Washington Square Park is the minor leagues for the subways. Like the musicians that didn't quite make it there, that's where they end up. And my favorite part of Washington Square Park is the guy, he's covered in hundreds of birds, and he's feeding them seeds. And just one time I want to steal the seeds and lace it with Imodium, because I've never seen a bird that doesn't have diarrhea, ever. Like one time I was walking by one of those overpasses, and you look down, it's never like pellets, it's always like a guy with a paintball gun, and he's shooting it down. So I'm walking by and it's just like, ugh, it's way too much of it. And it's like hundreds of birds had a lunch meeting 20 minutes ago, and they had whatever the bird equivalent of oily cholent is. So that's what was in front of me, and I walk around it because it's absolutely disgusting. But the guy next to me, he like stops and he like looks up to, I guess, investigate. Look, it came from somewhere, and don't look up. That's not what you should do when you see that on the ground. Like, the best case scenario is nothing happens to you. That's the most you can hope for. But in the worst case scenario, and I think you might know where this one's going, but I won't tell you the worst case scenario. I'm just going to tell you to go to YouTube and search for bird poops in mouth. Now, spoiler alert, there are no surprises in this video. I'm pretty sure you know the ending. All right, guys, thanks so much.